So I had this whole plan to post a bunch of YouTube videos this year, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And as this room has been getting emptier and emptier, and I've just been preparing to start completely dismantling this desk, I had this realization that this is the last opportunity I have to actually sit here and record a video. Albeit the walls are looking a little bit more bare than they were even just a week ago, but it still counts. So instead of beating myself up for all of the videos that never happened, I figured that why not just at least record one, and that way I can round off the year. So let's start with what is actually happening, what's going on. I'm moving. I've been in Melbourne for 10 years and I've loved it. I really have. Melbourne has been my home for 10 years. But it has been a while and I decided it was time for a change. And so next week only, I am going to be moving back to my real home. Temporarily. I'm going back to Aotearoa, or New Zealand, as most of you guys know it. That's where all my family are from, and so I'm going to head back, reconnect with everyone I haven't seen for a number of years, and be able to explore the beautiful country that is my home before I make a massive, massive life change, which is to move to the UK. Now, so many people have asked me, why the UK? And for a while, I had this long, well thought out answer that was basically explaining how I visited and I just really felt mentally stimulated, I guess, with learning so much history, so much older history than what I'm used to. And I felt like it had this correlation to how New Zealand is the way it is now, with the colonization and whatnot. And so I found that it was really exciting to be able to learn all of these things. But also on top of that, I said how there are people I know there. And so that makes it feel like I have a support network in a country that I've never lived before. So at least I have people who can look after me and I can ask questions to. And also I know that eventually I'd love to spend more time on mainland Europe. So I looked at UK as a bit of a stepping stone before maybe moving to Germany, which I am hoping I could spend some time in and get fluent in German, because that's where my dad's from. But the reality is, I felt like I had to justify my move to the UK when when really it was just a spontaneous decision. And so I'm trying to be more comfortable with the idea that it is spontaneous, because anyone who knows me knows that I am not a spontaneous person whatsoever. I will spend 3 months thinking about whether or not I should buy a new pair of sneakers, and then eventually it'll be the day of before a 2-month trip that I'm like, okay, now's the time that I will get the sneakers. And it was forcing my hand essentially, and so, because of how long it took me to make this decision. It actually took me 2 years, not 3 months. It was 2 years for me before I bought those sneakers. But now I have them. I love them. I wear them every single day, and I'm very happy that I got them. However, it took me 2 years to get them. That is not an exaggeration. That is a true story. That is me. That is me in a nutshell. I'm not a spontaneous person. So when I visited the UK and I enjoyed myself, I kind of felt like, why don't I just stay? Why don't I just prolong this trip? Why don't I extend this? Why don't I live here? And that's really a lot of the thought that had gone into it. I haven't felt like Melbourne has been my home for a while now, and I wasn't quite sure what that meant for me. And I think a big part of it was I didn't know where I wanted to go to. I wasn't ready to move back to New Zealand. I love New Zealand. It will always be home, but I didn't want to move back there. Not yet, anyway. And I think that there's a part of Europe that is very enticing to me. I want to see a bunch of the cultures over there, and again, learn more of the histories, not just of the British history, but also all of the European cultures and different types of uh, things that got them to where they are. And I've made jokes that like my Roman Empire is about to be the Roman Empire. So I'm very excited to learn more about that. And I just felt like, okay, well, why not the UK? But I think one of the things I noticed is that when I had made this decision, like I said, I felt like I had to justify it. I felt like people were trying to make sure that I had weighed up all of these options before making a big life decision. And I think that's pretty normal, right? Is when someone is like, I want to change jobs or I want to do this, people will put their 2 cents in. They will help you with from a place of kindness, make sure that you have considered all of these things. And so for me, I had a lot of people saying like, oh, you're gonna hate the weather. Like, oh, you made the decision of moving when you visited in the summer. The summer weather was terrible, first of all. The fact that I've made the decision to move to the UK when I had visited in the summer and that was lulled into a false sense of security is completely wrong because the weather was awful. It really was. But I digress. So I had a lot of people who are like, well, you know, as soon as you experience a winter, you're going to hate it there. And I just felt like it was quite dismissive of my choice to leave. I think it discounted the fact that I didn't want to stay in Melbourne. And that's why I ended up having all of these reasons of why UK, because I felt like I did have to justify it. And even with the dissuading, I know for myself that the grass is always greener. I struggle with indecisiveness. This is something that is not new to me. And so to have made this decision and then to feel like I had to prove to people why I'm doing that, it was really, really tough, especially for such a spontaneous choice, I suppose. And I think that even with this unsolicited advice, I didn't. How do I phrase this? I felt like even if you weigh up all of the negatives or the pros and cons, should those things prevent making a change? Should they prevent trying something new? Should it prevent me from experiencing these negativities for myself? Like, I know that I'm excited to see falling snow for the first time. That is a big thing on my bucket list. That's not something I've had in my entire life. And, you know, maybe I'll like the cooler climate. Maybe I'll like the weather. Maybe I'm sick of how hot it is here in Australia, okay? You know, you maybe. Anyway, the other thing is that if I don't like it, I can always leave. And my point is not to rant about how I felt like people were giving me, like I said, unsolicited opinions, but rather it made me think that I just think I want to make sure that I'm in turn not doing the same to others if the roles were reversed. There is this power in language, right? And I think that instead of phrasing, oh, you know, you're gonna hate the weather and you're gonna hate living there, a simple reframing into make sure you have a good raincoat can go such a long way. It is so much more supportive of what is a very scary decision. It is saying goodbye to a lot of the roots that I have here. I'm packing up my whole house, for example. It's so far away from my family. It's not just a 3-hour flight across the sea anymore. It's going to be a 30-hour flight. And so I am just, I guess, sitting here today because these are the things I've been considering, is trying to find the positivity in things and making sure that we are putting more positivity into how we interact with others. And so I absolutely have appreciated everyone's weighing in on my situation. Don't get me wrong, but I also feel like this has just made me think about these things of how does what we say affect others, because it can have quite an impact without even the recognition. So I guess I'm just trying to be better at understanding that for myself so that I can pass that on. And I guess I'm also trying to be better at reminding myself that these decisions are not necessarily final, that I can change my mind. And so, even with something as big as a move overseas, it doesn't have to be permanent. And in fact, the visa won't even allow for it to be permanent. So, just trying to be more comfortable with change and trying to embrace change. These are things that I think I want to work on in the new year. So I guess where I am going with this is next year my New Year's resolutions are going to be nice and simple. One, move to the UK, clearly. Two, I want to get my German passport, open up the EU for me, and maybe practice more of German in a German-speaking country. And then three, continue to work on this journey of overcoming indecisiveness, feeling like I can be a little bit more spontaneous and being okay with making those choices and feeling confident in making those choices, and practicing what I preach, and the idea that there is no right or wrong decision, there are only choices. And humans are very reactionary, and I just need to remember that I can be reactionary, I can adapt as well, rather than thinking, and then eventually just stagnating because I haven't made a decision and I haven't tried to make a change. So I'm very excited for this new journey, and I'm very excited to try and keep on practicing these things, but I know that it is a long way for it to be an inherent part of my personality, I suppose. And obviously there's nuance to everything. We all know this. That I just have to tack on for the sticklers out there. It's me. I'm the stickler. I guess I could also try posting more. That could be another resolution that I add. But we'll see. It's one step at a time. I think that's all for now. I'll still be live streaming during this transition period, so if you want to come say hi and you want to come see my beautiful home of New Zealand, then make sure to pop on over to Twitch and come hang out. But thank you for listening to my random thoughts as I say goodbye to this house and say goodbye to my home of the last 10 years, I suppose. And maybe something resonated with you. So if it did, I hope that you can work on your struggles. You're not alone, clearly, hopefully. I don't know. But I know that it's not easy. And we're just trying to figure out this thing called life together. And if none of this resonated with you, thank you for watching until the end anyway. That's really cool. Okay, that's all. I'll see you not in this room. I'll see you in the future, whenever that might be. Bye.